I'd like to welcome everybody to our December meeting. We're so sorry we can't see you in person again. It's going to be several couple months until we get to chat with you in person. But hopefully in the meantime, we can still keep providing everybody with useful information. A couple little housekeeping items. As usual, stay on mute unless you are called upon or you're giving a presentation so that we can avoid the dog barking in the background, the doorbell ringing, whatever else it might be. If you have a question, you can use the chat at the bottom of your screen or raise your hand and one of us will try to call on you. Now, we started talking without really doing many introductions, but I think it'd be nice if we could still do a quick round of introductions. So I'm going to pull up the list of participants. I'll name your name, and if you want to come on or off of mute and let us know what city you're in and whether you have an EV or you're looking to buy one. And what the EV is. So I'll just start to kick things off. My name's Sandra. I'm in the Sacramento area and I work in Davis. And I have the Bolt EV. Chris.
Hi, I'm Chris. I live in Davis and now I'm working from home, so I'm not commuting on anything, even my bicycle. But we have a plug-in Prius and a 2015 Leaf.
Great, thanks. Going down the list, Patrick McGinnis.
Yes, I'm in.
Oh, you were off mute, and now you're. There we go.
Sorry, I'm in Walnut Creek, and I have a plug-in Prius also, and a Hyundai Kona, which I just got in March and doesn't have a lot of miles on it. We're looking forward to doing some trips when this is all over.
Great. Bill Westerfield.
Hi, I used to live in Davis a long time ago, but I live in Sacramento now. And I just got a plug-in Audi last week.
Ooh, good to know. I'm making notes.
It's pretty exciting, but I spent a long time shopping for plugins, and the Audi purchase was pretty much a compromise because I couldn't find too many plugins out there that met my criteria. So Audi wasn't my first choice, but I'm not complaining.
Claire Segura, sorry.
Hi, I am in Davis and I don't own a plug-in vehicle. But looking at maybe getting one soon, hopefully used, more in my price range.
Good, good. Used are still great vehicles. Deborah, sorry.
Hi, I'm Deborah. I live in Sacramento. I used to live in Davis. I used to have a Leaf. I used to have a lemon of a BMW. And now I have a Tesla on order, which should be here in about 2 weeks.
Nice. Guy.
Guy Hall, we have a Tesla Model 3, also Model X, and a Nissan 2015 Nissan Leaf. So we live up in Granite Bay.
Great. Heath.
Hello, yeah, Heath. I'm based in Sacramento, but occasionally in Davis, and I still have my wonderful 2011 Volt.
Nice. Jim.
Hi, I'm Jim, and I have a VW e-Golf, and I have an old Coda, which is sort of a historical car, and the Coda is for sale for about $3,000, and it's a very reliable car. It would be great for somebody who wants to just get their toe into electric vehicles.
Great. Katrina.
Hi guys, I'm Katrina. This is Fred. who is my cat because he's sitting here looking pretty, so I'm introducing him. I'm in West Sac. I just graduated from Davis. I love electric cars, and currently I have a 2011 Chevy Volt. And when things start picking up and I save up enough money, I'm contemplating the Mach-E, the Mustang, because it sounds really cool, and I want to try out something new and join the BEV club. I love my PHEV, but time to upgrade, right?
Did you see the Mach-E when they showed it in town?
I didn't get to see it. I had like another meeting or two, and I was really upset. I really wanted to see it because it looks so cool. But I'll see it one of these days in the wilds of West Sac, because there's so many electric cars down here.
It's an SUV, right?
Yeah, well, so I will be frequently making trips to Reno, so I need something that's all-wheel drive for that snow life. And so that's kind of what I've decided on. If the Bolt was all-wheel drive, I would probably look at that. If the Kona was all-wheel drive, I would look at that. The Tesla Model 3 will not fit my bike, so I'm not super interested in that. I will consider it, but yeah, so that's why I landed on the Mustang. If you really want the whole story.
Good analysis there. Good analysis. Lane.
Hi, I'm Lane. I live in Roseville. I had gone to the Sacramento meetings, several of them, and one Davis meeting. So I'm kind of attached to both. Anyway, I have a Tesla Model 3 2018. It can't be going anywhere now, so it's kind of just hanging around in the garage.
Mm-hmm. Great. Marisol.
Hi, everyone. My name is Marisol Cifuentes, and I am the Clean Vehicle Rebate Project rep here, outreach person here in Sacramento, equity specialist. However, I personally have a 2019 Nissan Leaf that I absolutely love. Although we have two cars at home, we really exclusively just drive the Leaf, but I always feel like I'm getting away with it because it's so cheap to drive, which is fantastic. And for work, we have a Kia Niro plug-in hybrid. So that's also a fun drive too. And if anyone has questions regarding any of those cars and or the program, Clean Vehicle Rebate Project, or any incentives, I am available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Mark.
I live in South Sacramento and have been driving electric since 2011. I have a 2016 Tesla Model S, and I actually have been working in the zero emission vehicle program of CARB for the last 18 years. And one of my jobs is to do eligibility determinations for CVRP. And I'm happy to tell you that I have an application for the Mustang Mach-E, which means they're getting close.
I hope so. I mean, I don't know what could, what would exclude it from the CVRP stuff. I mean, it's all electric. What else could be wrong?
Cost is typically, CVRP has a MSRP.
It does have the cost of it. I forgot. You're right.
Yeah, so, but the Mach-E will be okay.
Nice. Score.
So, yeah.
Did you see the Mach-E when it was in town, Mark?
I didn't. That was already at a time when we were hesitant to leave the house. So I'll wait until safer times to drive it.
Great. Thanks. Patrick.
I think I already talked.
Oh, I'm jumping around here. Sorry about that. I guess Peter is next.
All right, yeah, I'm Peter Mackin. I am lead advisor for SAC-EV, I guess the sister group here of DEVA. And I drive a 2013 Model S. So I've been driving electric since 2013. And Oh, we have to say where we live too, right? So I live in, well, it's the mail address is Granite Bay, but it's really Roseville. I'm within the city limits of Roseville.
Great. I think I'm at Richard now.
Okay, I'm Richard Bode, and I have a 2017 Volt. We had a 2013 Leaf before that. So my wife's now working from home, so she didn't drive it much, but we drive it, you know, locally. And I have to say my efficiency's gone up to about 4.8 miles per kilowatt. So and it did pretty good. I think I almost got to 9, and then I went on the freeway to go to Sacramento and drove at 75, and it went back down to 4.6, but now it's at 4.7 again. So I'm working on that, but we're enjoying it.
Nice. Stevie. I'm not hearing you, Stevie, if you're there. Okay, we will skip past you for now. Where am I? Wilson. Yeah, go ahead, Wilson.
Okay, I'm Wilson Hitchings. I have a 2015 Tesla Model S. I am currently living in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and I am one of the founding guys for the Colorado Springs EV Club. We have about 175 members, and our membership crosses over to the Denver Tesla Club that has 1,700 members on Facebook. So we're a relatively average size club.
Very good. Yeah. And okay, so I skipped past Robert.
Okay, I'm here with my wife Barbara, and we own a 2016 Nissan Leaf, and we love it. And we drive it all the time. It's just it does everything for us.
Great. And Yvonne?
Yes, I'm Yvonne. I'm in Davis. I'm not sure if I've got my camera fixed properly. It's okay? Oh, okay, good. I'm in Davis. We are quite an electric family here. I have a 2013 Volt that I love that's now going into the 7th year, and my soon-to-be 17-year-old grandson will be driving that that one soon. I also have a 2016 Tesla Model S that I bought from some friends, and we have 2 other Volts. My son-in-law's for my son-in-law's business, and we are an extended family, so we have two 2018 Volts, and prior to that we had 2 others. one that was a lemon, and the other that my daughter, who was the first, I think hers was a 2011, that one of the first ones, and she really loved it. Was sorry to have to sell it, but we needed to move on. but we love it. We're very much into electric vehicles. My son-in-law is in the energy field, so
nice.
We're big supporters.
That's a solid electric vehicle family.
Right.
Okay, so I think I got anybody. Is there anybody I missed? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
I mean, I could speak.
Okay, cool. Tim.
Yeah.
Tim, go ahead.
I have a 2014 Tesla Model S that we picked up this summer, used. And we also have a Chevy Volt, a 2012 Chevy Volt here at the house. We just moved my daughter back home from Portland, so we now have 2 EVs at the house. And then a 2018 Nissan Leaf that my son is driving down in Berkeley, California. And a multitude of EVs prior to those 3, but those are our current 3.
Another big EV family.
Right.
All right. Now I think we've gotten everybody. So we'll go ahead on to the next bit, which I believe, oh, my control panel is, there we go. Yay, Sacramento Regional Report. I will stop my share and you can go ahead and start yours.
Okay.
You are on mute.
And I will, I'll put up the slides here, Sandra, so you can be my backup if I need. Let's see. Just a moment, pull them up, share screen. Okay, there it is. And there we go. All right. So what a great group of people here. I mean, these are EV advocate, EV experienced drivers, EV curious, a great mix. But I thought I'd start off with like content or an evaluation that took place from the Rocky Mountain Institute, where they compared various different cities across the United States, 60 different cities. And they looked at three interesting aspects. How EV charging ready was the metropolitan area. Day trips, how easy is it to go, if you go to a day trip from Sacramento or the area to some interesting location that draws in a crowd. Do you have charging there? Can you, are you able to do these day trips with an electric car? Do the airports provide support for electric vehicles? So, well, before I give you the answer to where we stood, we'll let you, we'll talk a little bit about where we are in terms of EVs in the region. So you have to hold on for a minute to see the answers there. 37,000 cars, EVs are on the road in our region. In one sense, it sounds like a lot, but it's less than, it's certainly less than 2% of the cars on the road. It's growing. Now, the interesting thing you might see there is the there's a substantial percentage of the electric car, the BEVs, the battery electrics, are the 200+ mile cars. So anyway, so I think we're doing pretty well there. And Claire, you were thinking about getting a used electric car. If I remember that right? Sacramento is number 8 in the nation for its share of used EVs in the market. And so, and the most popular ones as of a few months ago were these common three: the Leaf, the Bolt, and the Model S. But we do a pretty good job of supporting and encouraging used EVs. Now back to the ranking. Drum roll. We tied for second place in the country, across the entire country, including these other cities. We were tied with Denver for second place. So that says a lot. I think that says that we've come pretty far in terms of trying to support EV drivers, EV adoption. So I think that's a lot. That's something we can congratulate ourselves and reflect a moment and say, how far we've come and how well we're doing.
So Guy, what's that mean?
Yeah.
EV infrastructure, is that just?
Charging, public charging ports per capita. We're trying to do actually a little bit of a deeper dive into it, because we would suggest next time these people evaluate cities, and not just Sacramento, but any city, they ought to be looking much more at fast charging. and how wide the deployments are for fast charging in the region. These guys we really only looked at predominantly level 2. So, but hey, we're going to take our wins as we get anywhere we get them, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, did anybody here get a chance to see the Electrify America review this morning? These are this is the results, the part of the outcome of the Dieselgate. For those who are familiar with that, that's where VW cheated and broke the law and sold cars that were really heavily polluting, and at the same time claimed the moniker clean diesel. So as a result of that, they had some number of fines and penalties and actions they had to take to recover or regain some of the air quality that was lost there. But also they agreed to help essentially start up the EV market a little more aggressively as part of a consent decree. So they reviewed the third cycle. If you remember, the first cycle included Sacramento area as a green city. So we had, I think, $44 million that came to Sacramento to support EV charging. But I point out this because we do try to get these, let people know about the webinars that are coming out or events coming out on the web, and we record them. So if you miss it, you can go back and see it. Here's an example of some of the information they were sharing where the models are now in terms of their range and what they expect to see coming out soon. So you can, if you check in the sign up with Stack EV, you can get the every other week or so we send out a list of the webinars that are coming up that we're aware of, the presentations. And then we also include the recordings of the ones in case you missed it, one of the webinars. You go back and look at it at your convenience. Okay, so Sandra, can you help me out here with a building code survey, because we're going to jump into what we'd like to see. So I want to get some feedback from this great brain trust we have here. So if you can select, if you were, the building codes require with any new construction, a 40 amp 240 outlet stub in the garages for, I don't know what NHC is.
I had to shorten it. It's new home construction. You'll see that on the last.
Good. So any new homes, and they're looking for an update to this, to potentially that those building codes. One of the questions, all new homes have to have a 40 amp outlet to be able to support electric car charging. The question is, should we have a second outlet? People start moving to 2 cars, or as I heard today, some have 3 cars. So if you would select here and what you think ought to be the change in the building code for new construction, I'd like to get your feedback.
So Guy, this is Mark. I have a clarifying question because I thought that there was a goal, either legislation or lobbying, to require that all new housing construction actually have a EV ready charger and not just the upstream conduit.
Okay, Mark, you might be right. That was not, I wasn't aware of that. We'll have to follow up with you later on that. I'd be curious about that one, because I would have some concerns about that type of requirement. I think homeowners ought to be able to have the option to pick their own type of charger, depending upon their own needs. But adding to the current circuit out there now, or a current, no pun intended, but an existing charger, is there a need for a second outlet. And is a 120 volt
Okay.
outlet sufficient for the second one? Yeah.
Okay, if we're talking about a garage, aren't there likely to be a couple of 120 amp circuits there already anyway? No matter what.
Yeah, in theory, these would be new ones that are sort of quote dedicated or not shared. So you wouldn't put your power saw, table saw on it as well. But I've got that same kind of question. How would you differentiate that from any other 120 outlet? But do you see a need to have actually something formally in the code to support that, or are we pretty much good as we are now?
We've got 8 out of 19 people voting.
Oh, I guess I get to vote.
Yeah.
I'm going to vote not an answer since I will be.
I had another, are these the only choices?
Well, let's just get this survey here to just hear some of the feedback, but then I'd like to hear comments and suggestions. Yeah.
I would, again, I don't live in the area, but I would imagine a second 40 amp circuit would get a lot of resistance from the builders. So I'm assuming 40 amps is 40 amp breaker and current less than that to go to the car. Why not a standard NEMA 1450 50 amp outlet instead of a 40 amp? That way, if there's resistance, and I've run into that here in Colorado with similar proposed legislation, I get the, don't tell me I got to pay for an electric car when I own a Ford. So what we couch it as, if you put a 50 amp NEMA 1450, it can be used for compressors, it can be used for welders, it can be used for heaters, and it can also be used as a car charger, but it's a standard outlet rather than, you can't use a 40 amp for a welder as far as I understand.
Good comments. I appreciate that. I will take that back. And I see it's kind of evenly split otherwise between having a second 40 amp 240 volt circuit and a standard upper end 120 volt circuit.
Yeah, I mean, this is Peter. I would second Wilson's suggestion. It really should be a single 50 amp circuit, because then you can use it for pretty much anything as was stated. Plus, if you share it between two chargers, you can get 20 amps each at 240. That's easily enough to charge two cars at the same time overnight.
I would agree with you there.
I also say that if you add a second 240 volt circuit, any electrician can make that into 220 volts circuits too. So you're really adding a lot of potential circuits there.
I know you can. Is there a building code actually allow that? I mean.
Oh yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. It's
Well,
that's the way your power comes into the house is 240.
Yeah,
and people tap it off.
Yeah, well, you have to be careful, Jim, because if it's 240, then the two hot wires carry all the current and the neutral is basically floating. So if the neutral's undersized, it won't work. You can't switch it into 120.
You can. It's split phase, and you just go from any hot wire to any neutral.
Oh, I know. I'm a power engineer,
well,
Jim. I know exactly how it works.
Yeah.
And I'm saying if the neutral's undersized, you can't. Because if the loads are unbalanced, then all the neutral current has to flow on the undersized neutral, and it'll overheat. It'll be a violation of the code.
Well, when have you ever seen one that was undersized?
Okay.
The Tesla chargers don't use the neutral at all. So there may be a neutral in there, but that's not used.
That's a different point. The point is that one option includes the others by default. Guy, that's what I'm trying to say. So
Guy, I got a question.
Yeah.
Could I? So is the building code now, does it actually have the new housing? Does it have to actually have the 240 breaker in the panel for the EV?
That was my understanding. Mark was suggesting that it actually requires the charging the EVSC as well. That I wasn't aware of.
And Yeah, and I was wrong. That was, I mean, Menlo Park requires that for multi-unit dwellings if they have 2 or more spaces, but not for single-family units. And my understanding was that there was a push for the building code to adopt the Menlo Park requirements.
Yeah. And that is certainly being talked about. It's one of these questions that's come up there. There is some suggestion also to require that. I think maybe Menlo Park may have, but someone has in the Bay Area as a requirement for a 120 outlet as a second. But I do like the suggestion that was made by Wilson to really go to a 1450, which is a win in several ways. All right, so Sandra, can you put up the second one?
Second question.
There's a second question, Sandra. There we go. So if you lived in an apartment or condominiums and you only had a 120 volt circuit outlet there, would you still buy an EV? I'm wondering how much of a limiter is only having a 120 volt circuit to people that are in an apartment that might be interested in EV, but will you feel constrained? So I'm going to put not
leave it
sure.
open for another 30
Pardon me?
seconds, 30 more seconds. So make your vote now to keep everybody moving. 11 out of 19 people.
Sorry, what was the question? Oh.
The poll should be up on your screen.
Oh. Poll in progress. I don't see it. I said 2013 building code survey, but no other question.
Oh, I'm not sure how to bring it up for you.
I mean, that's what I
Okay.
see. That's what I
I'll
see too,
skip
but that's
it.
because I
I'll
already
skip.
answered.
Okay. I'm going to end the polling now. There you go. Results.
Okay. Again, evenly split. That some
Okay.
nearly a third of the people felt that they needed at least 6 miles of range per hour. But very few people said that that was not acceptable. Either way, or it would, at least one would be acceptable. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. That helps us go forward. I'm going to go on back here, I think. So this is the working on there's a new cycle coming up for the building code. That's why this information is very helpful. Some of the initial discussions are going on this month, and they will go through a number of public process, a number of discussions and workshops until they actually make some decisions on it mid next, probably toward the end of this coming year. So you see the December 2021 to January 2022 is when they will actually then make a decision. Then they'll make sure it gets out, published, and people have time to internalize it before it actually becomes a requirement in building codes from which should be January 1st, 2023. So it's a multi-year process. This gets updated every 3 years. So if anybody has any comments or thoughts about what it means if you live in an apartment or even in a home and you think there ought to be changes to the building code. In particular, I wanted to point out that half of our families in this region at least live in apartments or homes without electricity being available to charge their vehicles. So we really need to address or accelerate the building codes for putting charging infrastructure into any new apartment construction, any commercial garages, and accelerate our use of our deployment of fast chargers. Otherwise, the concern is that nearly half our population will not be able to really make an EV work for them.
So Guy, was that was just for new housing or new construction?
It's only new houses, or I think there's something about some major retrofits,
That'd be good.
major modifications.
My daughter has a Bolt, and she's in Merced, going to school there. And she's had it for like 2 years, going on 3, but none of the apartments had any way you could charge an electric vehicle, because they just had parking lots and the apartments were, across the parking lot.
Does she charge it at school at all, or?
So she charged it at school for 2 years and she paid an exorbitant price at UC. But at least she charged. But at least now she's moved into it.
Rich, I've got some follow-up questions I'd like to ask you later about the charging at school experience.
Oh, good. I could give you an earful.
Good.
A lot of information. But now she's luckily this last year she moved into a house, and so she's she just plugs in the 110, and that's been plenty of charge for her.
Any other comments from others on what you would see that or the impact of living in an apartment or condo or townhouse have on the ability of people to buy electric cars? Any comments?
Hi, guys. This is Marisol. I just want to add that people are, if I may, that folks are very resourceful. We've heard stories of individuals that have EVs through different programs, just grabbing a long distance or an extension cord and charging their car on a 120. So I think that if the cost is effective for them to have electric vehicles and we shape that, I think they'll find resources available to them. And one of the things that we all know as individuals, you don't have to charge your vehicle every single day if your commute is small. So having I think it is a deterrent, but I don't think it's a make or break. And I think as we're moving more into mutual housing, charging, I think that there's definitely light at the end of the tunnel with mutual housing and apartment complexes and whatnot, because they understand. And there are different programs out there that allow them to subsidize some of the charging for the complexes. So that's what I would just like to add.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Other comments or insights?
Yeah, hey Guy, this is Peter. I would suggest it's not a building code thing, but I would suggest that, we look at incentives for landlords to convert, existing MUDs and add charging to them. But of course, it's got to be something where, because they're not going to do it on their own. They're not going to pay for the whole thing. But if there's incentives there, they might be willing to do it if the cost to them is really small.
And if they were shown that it made their apartments more competitive.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it depends on the particular apartment. If it's yeah, I mean yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, you're going to have to show them hard facts. You're not going to have to just say, oh, it'll make your apartment more desirable. They're going to have to see something. They're not going to just do it because you said so.
As part of the third bullet about accelerating deployment of fast chargers, I think if fast chargers are placed in neighborhoods for the use of low-income and disadvantaged community drivers, maybe there needs to be a rulemaking on the part of the Public Utilities Commission to waive the demand charges for those fast chargers, because otherwise, if electricity companies pass along their costs, Guy, you said you were listening to the Electrify America presentation this morning, and they talked about the one charger in Utah where the effective cost, once you factored in the demand charges, equated to $60 per gallon of gasoline. And that's not sustainable, but these are the poorest members, and if they have to use fast chargers, we don't want them to have to be paying the highest rates. So we need to address demand charges at the same time.
Yeah, hey Mark, this is Peter. I would more than second that. I would say that pretty much all DC fast chargers, they should waive the demand charges. But anyway, but I agree with your point.
Other comment?
Guy, just one quick thing to add for future meetings, if you you or your group is interested, if SACIV or DEVA is interested. My husband is an architect, but he's also CAFC certified, so he does the ADA parking lots. So I know that there's a lot of questions regarding EV infrastructure and parking lots, and he can talk about the building code and what is and what isn't. So that's just something for future. I'm putting it in your mind for next time if you're interested. He'd love to share.
Okay, great. All right, well, I will move on. That was my last slide. So I will release to you, Sandra.
Great. I didn't realize that was your last slide. Okay. No final questions then?
Well, I've got one, actually, as a statement just to give the guys. You know, I lucked out in that I bought a house in Davis 20 years ago. In Davis, the code required that there be a connection in the garage for an electric vehicle. So it must have been set in the mid 90s, I think. And all it required was, you know, when I finally got my Leaf in 2013, it was conduit, that it was a panel in the garage and a panel in the breaker box. Right. But really, to put a 240 line in cost me, I think, $48.13 for the breaker and the receptacle to put in. That was it. So it took me like half an hour to put the whole thing in. So, you know, half of the cost would have been actually it would have been enormous cost if I had to get an electrician to put conduit through my walls and put it there. But at least with that there, the cost of actually putting in just the, you know, the breaker and the receptacle was minimal. So
I think now that the code does require the breaker and the wire there. But Mark, maybe correct me if I'm wrong on that.
I don't know the answer to that. I think that it says panel capacity, but not the and the conduit, but not the wire.
Really? Okay, that is something to check on.
Okay. All right. Well, I think next up for our next presentation, we have Jim going to give us an overview of Tesla Battery Day. Jim, do you have slides or you just gonna?
Yeah, if you can give me the screen.
Yeah, you can go ahead and click your screen share button and you should have.
Let's see. I think that's it right there. Is everybody seeing a big picture with Elon?
Yes.
Okay, that's what we want. So yeah, back, I think it was September, he had this presentation, and I think it's mainly for actually investors, you know, so they feel all warm and fuzzy about Tesla. But pretty interesting stuff. I'm going to get into a little bit technical here, but hopefully you'll find this interesting. And I have to get rid of something on my screen or I can't advance the, let's try that. So as you can see, the presentation was on a stage and so everybody parked in the parking lot to hear them. And so when they said something that everybody liked, they all honked their horns. It was pretty cool. I wasn't there, I'm just, this is from online. I got that. And some of the things that they were talking about is their new battery design. And this picture behind them is a new design. And I won't go into all the details, but it's what they call the 4680 design, which is 46 millimeters by 80, which is larger than the other one. It's also what they call tabless. It does not have tabs. And so the reason for doing this is it has a shorter path length for the electricity to flow. which makes a big difference. This new battery has 5 times the energy. I think I can go to the, I think I might have typed this out. Bear with me. There it is. So yeah, you can read this yourself, but it has 5 times the energy and 5 times the power, 16% greater range, and a 14% reduction in dollar per kilowatt hours. So of course they're trying to show the investors, you know, that they're really on the forefront of all the batteries. And, so there's a little picture of the new size battery. And this is a picture of them manufacturing the battery. It's the electrodes are being wound on some sort of spool there. And this is the other thing they introduced, is that they have a new high-speed, what they call continuous motion assembly, rather than just making them one at a time. The batteries just get made in a big line. So this new assembly line, I don't quite understand this, but it's 20 gigawatt hours or 7 times output per line, apparently, from what it used to be. And this, of course, will be happening in their gigafactory near Reno. And what they're doing is they're just adding this much energy, 100 gigawatt hours, to the cells that they're already getting from other suppliers, from Panasonic and LG. So this will not cover all of their cells, but just they're adding it on. In the long term, the factory will make more than 3 terawatt hours per year. It's the high speed. So then they went down to a metallurgical discussion, which kind of went over my head, but they have a silicon anode, because silicon is the second most common element in the Earth's composition. The cathode is going to nickel, which is cheaper and has higher energy density. And so that's very technical. So we're talking about why this is better. On the right, you can see this is a graph of energy versus price, and cobalt is what they used to use. That's more expensive than the nickel, so that's what they're trying to show. Yeah, so then what they call the total solution, if you take into account all of the changes in the batteries and the production process, they have a 66% reduction in capital expenditures, 76% reduction in process cost, and they're using 0 wastewater. So this is the kind of stuff that, of course, their investors really like. Elon addressed the issue of lithium and whether we have enough or not. And here are a couple of quotes that he said, which I really liked. There's a massive amount of lithium on Earth, not like oil. And I understand that's true. Every vehicle in the world can be converted to electric using only the lithium available in the United States. So I've seen articles that say, oh, there's going to be a big lithium shortage, and I just don't believe that. Batteries do not use very much lithium, it's just small amounts. And this is kind of interesting. They're setting up a new way of building cars. And what they do is they have a single piece of metal, of aluminum, that's stamped out, one for the back and one for the front. And they have commissioned the largest casting machine that has ever been made, which they have at the Fremont plant, which is going to put these things out. And then they develop their own type of material, the alloy that goes into it. And the result of all that is the car will have 370 fewer parts. Let's see if I have a picture. Yeah, so here is kind of an interesting thing. They're also using the battery as a structural element in the chassis. So basically, you have these 3 elements. You have the front, the battery, and the back. So the battery is not only providing energy, it's providing structural strength. So you see with these 3 components, they greatly simplified, you know, how a car is put together. I thought that was pretty interesting. So, and there's some other stuff, but those are kind of the high points. So I hope that was interesting to people. And that's about it.
So,
questions?
So Jim, I have a question. Didn't he talk about a million-mile battery? Something about that? I remember hearing the news about that, but.
I didn't catch that part. So
okay.
Probably right.
I heard that in the news too, but I don't know what it's all about.
Yeah.
Jim, did he talk about the environmental aspects of nickel versus cobalt at all?
You know, I don't know about that either because I just picked up some of the high points. So
sure.
I can't, I'm afraid I cannot answer that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
What's your understanding on that, Tim?
I mean, I've just heard stories about how cobalt is environmentally damaging, or at least in its mining, and just environmental justice issues surround that issue, as I understand it. But I mean, the majority of the cobalt, the vast majority goes into cell phones, not electric vehicles. So it's not really an electric vehicle issue per se.
Okay, that was short. I hope you enjoyed it. Take care.
Thanks so much, Jim. Appreciate the overview. So next, I actually skipped over one of the things in the beginning, our hot topics. We kind of started at the very beginning with hot topics and then kind of skipped over it also. So I want to open the floor to anybody out there that has a hot topic they want to discuss or share. Yes, Richard.
Thanks. I held back during the beginning part, but I thought I wanted to mention, there have been a couple of recalls, battery recalls, and it started with the Kona. And I guess you've had about 5 fires with the Kona battery and they don't know what causes it. So Hyundai, that's trying to manufacturer. Hyundai basically recalled all the Konas and had them come in for checks. I'm not sure what they did with that actually, but they did with the batteries in the Konas. It turns out it was the LG batteries and the Chevy Volt, the 2017, 2018, 2019, half of 2019 uses the same battery. So my Bolt got a recall as well. And I took my Bolt in. And so now, I'm going to call up GM and find out what their plan is now, because the dealership didn't really know what was going on. But they have a new software. Basically, you take it in the immediate update right now is basically doesn't allow you to charge to 100%. So I always had in mind to charge to 90% anyway. But that feature is gone. It just has one charge feature. You can't change it to 90 or 100. So anyway, and then they're going to be working for the on the recall. I think they still haven't found a solution yet, and that's going to be coming later. So the good news for GM is they're not using that battery in the future. They have a new battery. I think it's called the Ultium battery, and it's their plans for all the manufacturing they're going to do in Ohio and Michigan is going to use a new battery design. So the 2020s and half of the 2019s use this new battery design. So it's more for us former owners. So anyway, so that might be a good topic for what's coming out of that and get some more facts maybe for later next year as well. And then one other thing I want to talk about too, and this is I wanted to mention this to Guy, was used EVs. I listened into I think it was the governor's office, their marketing plan for EVs. And one of the things they said was that a lot of California used EVs aren't staying in California because they get a higher price for them if they ship them out to the East Coast. So they're ending up in Georgia and Florida and some of the southern states and the East Coast. So, and the reason why is because, California, state of California is giving these rebates, so which the other states don't do. So I think that's something I'd like to see in the future and hear more about. How do we keep used EVs in California? We're paying these subsidies, so we should be keeping these. And it's coming, I think, from the dealerships. I think it's coming for their leases, but I don't know if you know anything about that guy.
Mark and I were kind of looking at that the other day on a California basis to compare how many EVs are on the road versus how many EVs were sold in California. And California wide, I think, do you remember the number? Was it 12%, Mark, the fewer EVs on the road than were sold?
That sounds about right.
And so that would also include, there would be losses, of course, to accidents, just a car dying on just age or for manufacturing defect. But so it doesn't seem to me that it's worse than 12%. That would be the upper limit. And the interesting thing, again, we get kind of involved in some of these numbers at times. And in the Sacramento region, it's the opposite. There are more EVs on the road, 9% more EVs on the road than are sold in the Sacramento region. So we presume that that's people going to the Bay Area to buy an electric car, and so the sale is in the Bay Area, but they're then registered back in Davis or Sacramento.
Or they could be Bay Area refugees coming to Sacramento and bringing their car.
Could be, but I think the number we saw was about 9%. Yeah.
Oh, it's pretty high. Yeah, one thing I would say is, even though, Richard, that's a good, how do I want to say it, noble cause to try to keep the cars in California, I think the Interstate Commerce Clause of the Constitution is going to foil you. I don't see there's any way you can force people to keep their cars in California.
Yeah.
Hire Rudy Giuliani, he can help.
What's that? What's that,
Tim?
Hire Rudy Giuliani. So my Tesla is on the road in California, but it's registered in Oregon, at least for a little while longer.
All right. So, I was thinking too, is I could see if somebody bought an EV and then wanted to sell to somebody, you probably couldn't keep that from happening. But it seems like if you have a dealer that's leasing them, that maybe you say, because I know when I bought my Leaf, the the federal rebate didn't come to me. The federal rebate went to the dealership or went to Nissan. So maybe put something in there that says that rebate has to be kicked back to the state of California. Of course, it wasn't the state, it was the feds. But yeah, I hear what you're saying, though. You're right, the Interstate Commerce Clause. Darn, we need a new Supreme Court.
Yeah.
It's a different issue.
You got a new one. You probably don't like it, though.
Yeah. I wasn't planning on that.
Mhm. I have a question.
Go for it.
On another topic. How many of you follow your notifications on your vehicles as to when maintenance is needed? And how many of you follow what the dealership comes out with every 8,500, 30,000? Because they're so, our experience has been, they've been so maintenance free, but I get nervous that we have past time to do certain things. So what do you do, or what do others do?
Well, I'll tell you what I do. I do nothing. I mean, I've had my car for 7 years. It's had fixes because something broke, but as far as actual maintenance, zero. I haven't even rotated the tires. I've replaced them. No, I've replaced them. See, I can't rotate them because they're unidirectional and they're offset, so they're different size front and rear. So it's basically they can't be rotated.
Okay.
So,
Which vehicle do you have, Peter?
it's a Tesla. It's a Model S.
Yeah,
and
oh,
so,
we have
but as
the
far as
Model S.
yeah, so I mean, as far as maintenance goes, I haven't done anything. I guess I have the brakes checked when the tires are replaced, but personally, as far as, well, actually, I take that back. I have replaced wiper blades. I have done that, but anything else, no, haven't done anything.
Yeah.
I've had the tires rotated, and I use the same wiper blades, but that's about it. And I had them put fluid in the windshield wiper, fluid in the windshield wiper.
And the type of car?
A Bolt, the Chevy Bolt.
Okay.
Yvonne, what kind of car do you have?
Well, I have both a Tesla Model S 2016, and recently started to have some problems with the tire, messages saying that PSI was too low and so forth. And so when we started to look at it, and then took it to just a local to have it fixed, and we looked at the tires and they said, boy, these are really kind of worn. And I said, well, nobody told me. So, because when you take it to the Tesla dealership, they'll do a service like say every 30,000 or so, and that's a $350 or something, which isn't bad, you consider if you're not doing it very often. But but nothing was telling me that I should rotate the tires, so I didn't know that. But they're pretty worn. So we have about 50-something thousand miles on it. So it's definitely time for some new tires. So got it.
Yeah, I replaced my first Model S tires after about 25 to 30,000 miles. So
Really?
you're doing
Wow.
well.
I've been way over.
Well, I bet you I got the record for shortest replacement, which was about 10,000 miles.
Wow. Now, why did you do that? Was that just nervousness or
No, it was because because the tires that came with the car were Michelin Pilot Sports performance tires, really, really soft rubber, and they wore out super fast. So
really?
yeah, so now I'm running Bridgestones and I'm getting about 40,000 miles.
Oh.
Well, no, I take that back. No, I'm not. I'm getting about 25,000. They're still soft. Yeah.
Everybody should be still checking their brake fluid. That's something that does need to, periodic checks. You don't want to allow moisture to collect into that. And the engines don't run as hot as the gas car engines. Moisture can accumulate in there more. It's more likely to be a problem.
So the Chevy Volt, is that the same experience others have had with the Chevy Volts in terms of not needing to do much, or do you get messages or?
Is that V as in volt or B as in?
V as in Volt. Why on earth did they name the other one Bolts? Ridiculous.
Yeah, so for my Volt, I still have the same brake pads. That's 134,000 miles.
Wow.
I love her. She's a trooper. But yeah, I mean, I really haven't had any problems. The one thing I did have was it stopped charging, and I ended up having to fight with GM itself because they wouldn't honor the 100,000 10-year warranty, or something. There was like a big issue, but that was like a one-off. I feel like that was just a me problem. But no, I mean, I haven't had any maintenance issues really. Just oil and rotating the tires and stuff like that. I think my last oil change was like 2 years ago, which probably isn't good, but I mean, I don't run the engine, so she just sits there happily.
Has anybody had to replace their brake pads?
On the EV, no. I did replace the brake pads on my wife's ICE car at 80,000 miles, which I thought was excellent. But
Guy, I asked about my VW and they said they were, let's see, this was like 60,000 miles, and they said they're basically the same as they came out of the factory.
Wow.
I do have a VW story, though. It's not completely related, but I was getting a rattle in my steering wheel and they wanted $600 to look at it. And then I found out about 2 months later that there was a recall on the airbag in the steering wheel. And they never even told me. So I need to go back and talk to them.
Yeah.
But that's not EV related. So anyway.
Any other hot topics out there? Nothing, no burning questions?
Why did they call it the Chevy Bolt rather than so close to the Volt? And then they discontinued the Volt. The only
no idea.
Bolt I know is Usain Bolt from Jamaica, because I'm Jamaican. And I said,
probably-
how? Why did you do that?
It's probably lightning bolt is why they call it
Yeah,
bolt. but-
right. Oh, okay.
yeah.
Goes for electricity.
Yeah.
Still very, very annoying.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have one last piece of business for us all. I have a poll. Let me pull it up. Pull the poll up.
What's that?
So our last piece of business here is this poll that I just launched. We want to know what topics you are interested in hearing about for the 2021 year. So you should be able to vote on as many as you'd like. In addition to this, after you vote, we are also looking for more volunteers that want to help us sort of design these meetings and find the presenters and help out on the leadership team to bring these meetings together. So if you are interested in supporting us in that way and joining the team in 2021, it would be great if you could drop a note into the chat box and we will reach out to you. Right now, I don't think we had our leadership team sort of self-identify at the beginning of the meeting. So I'm just going to go ahead and call out everybody's name that is on the leadership team while you continue to vote on this 2021 topics. We've got Chris Granger, if you want to wave and say hello. Hi. We have Tim Tutt. Tim. And then we have Guy Hall. We have Jim. We have Katrina. Well, she's not on
Hey.
video.
Sorry, my camera's not working because it is a butt head.
No worries. We have Richard. And Robert is also a lead volunteer here. Ooh. He and Barbara are also lead volunteers for us. So that's our leadership team right now for DEVA. And we would love
And Sandra.
Oh, and myself, yes. If you couldn't figure that out. I'm going to end this polling, assuming everybody has voted. Oh, no, more people are voting. Great. Okay. I'll leave it open for a second. But if anybody else wants to join the leadership team, or even just, you don't have to be on the leadership team, you could just volunteer here and there at different meetings, please drop a note and let us know. We are always looking for more ideas and support. So I'm going to end the polling now. Oh, Yvonne, go ahead.
I added the future of access decals.
Oh,
yeah.
HOV lane.
Yeah, for the HOV lanes, yes, because we have two 2018 volts, and I think they expire in 2022, and at some point we heard that was going to be the end of it.
Yeah,
So
that's a good one.
I can talk about the HOV lane program on one of the next episodes.
Great, thanks, Mark. Mark, making a note. And so on that fact, if anybody else has a topic that they feel they're qualified to share information on, or they want to go and do a deep dive of research and create a presentation for, because we have had several people, like Jim did that tonight, Guy did that for part of his. We would welcome you to do a deep dive, create a presentation, and participate in that way as well.
I was gonna say, I will add, I'm still trying to get someone from CARB to talk about trucks and their new truck rule. And but they've been pretty silent the last couple of weeks. And hopefully get them, because there's a lot going on with trucks, new rules and new deadlines. So it'll be good here.
Guy, you're on mute.
When you say truck, do you mean like pickups or do you mean medium and heavy duty, big trucks?
I think I'd like to hear an update on all of them, but I think I'd like to hear a lot about pickups and those, what are going on. But they just had an update, in June of this year, and updated the rule, I think that they worked on maybe 2 years ago, and much faster timelines to set for goals.
Yeah, the advanced clean trucks rulemaking is for medium and heavy duty vehicles.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just wanted to give a shout out and say hi to Deborah. I've known her for years from UC Davis and Sacramento State, and she's quite the classical and musician and probably other genres.
Hi, Yvonne.
Hi there. And congratulations on your impending purchase of a Tesla.
Thank you.
You're great. Mhm.
Very exciting. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
I'd like to just give a little bit of a promo for for January's meeting. That we will have folks here talk, perhaps including Mark Williams, to talk about what's going on with the governor's 2035 no more gas car sales, and the city will have people talking about some of the phenomenal work that's been going on there over the last 6 months. So 12 months. So that should be a pretty interesting meeting.
Looking forward to it. Great.
And so Guy, that's the second Wednesday in January, is that it? Or third?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
And that's the Sacramento EV Club meeting, right?
Yeah, well, we can make a joint one again.
Definitely. We do. So for those that don't know, we try to invite the SAC EV folks to the DEVA meeting and the DEVA folks to the SAC EV, because there's a lot of crossover on topics. So the date for that is January 13th, if you're looking to mark your calendars. Also at 6 p.m.
Yep.
Okay. Well, that's all I have. Hope you guys have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Happy
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, everybody.